YouTube, this is Owen here with my first After Effects tutorial, and I wanted to briefly show you how to do a custom intro animation for any of your videos. And so I basically was going to show you the intro that I made for my first video, and probably the intro for this video. I'm going to just teach you basically how I made that pretty quick, and I think it is easy enough to understand at a beginner level. So I'll go ahead and play it. This is what we're going to be creating. Just a text that drives in, pops up. You get those a few animations popping up at the bottom of the sound effect, and you can see here on the side there's this kind of colorization, and also if you go to here, you know, as that's coming in, right here, right around here, you can see this is faded, and there's a bit of motion blur, and then it pops in. So I'll be showing you how to make all that. Okay guys, so let's go ahead and open After Effects, and I'm using After Effects CS6, but it's basically the same as Adobe After Effects CC, and if you have an older version of After Effects, it may be slightly different, but for the most part, all the After Effects, you know, the ones that you'd be using, they're basically the same. So you should be able to do exactly what I'm doing if you're using CC or CS5. So go ahead and click on a new composition. I'm going to make a new composition, and we're going to call this intro. It doesn't really matter what you call it. We'll make it 15 seconds, and we'll just go ahead and click OK. Right here, this is our project window, and you can see our composition is in here, and it also shows down here intro, and this is our intro composition. It's kind of like in Premiere where you have sequences, but this is our composition, and we made it 15 seconds long, so you can see from 0, 1, 2, 3 all the way up to 15 seconds. Up here, this is our window. It shows exactly what we are making, and if you go here, you can click fit, and it'll show it a little bigger screen, but I like to keep it on 25 so I can see around the edges of what I'm making. So basically those are the three sort of window, the project, this is the sort of preview window, and this is the timeline where our sequence sort of is. This is our composition. So let me go ahead and make a new solid. Actually, before I do this, let me show you here. Your project here is probably black, so make sure you toggle on the transparency grid, because it's kind of deceiving. You think that there is black video here, but in actuality there's nothing here. So make sure you can see the transparent grid, so just turn that on. So we're actually going to make a new solid, and we're going to call this background brown, because the background in the video was brown, and we're going to change the color to a sort of orangey background brown, and there you go. And then we're going to add another solid, and we're going to make this the green one that was over the top of the video. So we're going to go ahead and make it green. Click green solid. Okay, now if I put the solid underneath, the orange one would show up because it's on top. So whatever layer is on top, that's the one you're going to see. So I'm going to put the green on top because we want the green to be on top. And I'm going to cut out some of it so that we can see the orange through it. So let me go ahead and just start using this pen tool, and we'll start cutting out some of this. You just click, hold, and drag if you've never done this before, and you can actually go off the page here like this. That's why I like having the we're actually going to drag this one. I'll make it sort of more straight so you can see that. And let's see, if I hold down the space bar and drag, I can move over here, and let me go ahead and click on this. I'm just going to try and make this look smooth. Actually, I'm just going to go ahead and pull this one off, just like that. There we go. And click and drag with the spacebar held in. there is our cutout. And just to make it look, maybe, you know, we want some more orange in some different parts, we can go ahead and click on the pen tool, and we can drag some, you know, more bits in here. Just click on the line, and we'll drag in some more parts with the pen tool. Just like that. So that's probably okay there. All right, so now we have the cutout. We want to make sure that the background is the orange and the green is the outside. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this mask that we created. That's what the yellow lines are. That's a mask, and I'm going to click on the mask here, and I'm going to click invert. So what I've done is I've cut out the green. So this is the green here that we have kept, and I've cut out the rest. And if you want to see maybe a better view of that, you see this is the top layer and this is the bottom layer, and I've basically just cut out part of one of the layers, and you can see the other part still there. So it's kind of cool. You can move that. It's pretty nice. So there is our image. I'm actually going to just adjust this just a little more, and maybe I'll chuck some more in there. Perfect. Okay, I like the look of that. And so now I'm going to go click on the mask, and I'm going to feather it so there's not this harsh line. So I'm going to go ahead and maybe just maybe around 160. There we go. 160 feather. So that means some of the orange is showing in the green, and some of the green is showing in the orange. That way it looks like it's not a harsh line. That looks pretty good. I'm then going to go over to my effects and presets and type ramp, and let's chuck a ramp effect on the background, and let's make it a radial ramp. If it's a linear ramp, it starts one color and ends the other. If it's a radial, it does the same thing, but it does it around the anchor point, which is this little circle. So I'm going to put that in the middle, and then I'm going to change this to more of an orange, and I'm going to change the actually this one I'm going to change to orange. I think that'll look better, and this one I'm going to make green, and then we'll just blend with the original just a little bit, turn up the scatter. Yeah, I think that looks pretty good. So there we go. We have sort of an effect there. Maybe we want, maybe this should be more like a lighter color. There we go. Okay, I like how that looks. And let's blend it with the original just a little more so it's not too harsh. There we go. Perfect. All right, so now we sort of have a good background, and we have the two different layers. So we have the green layers in front, and we have the brown layers in the back. The next thing I'm going to do is add some text. So I can either click on the text tool, or I can click Control-T, or I can go down here, click New Text, and I'm going to write whatever text I want. So for our video, it was Adobe with Owen. So how about we change it? We'll go Adobe with Derek Floyd. Just a random name, you know, whatever your name is, you can put in here. So we have that there. Let's zoom in a little. You can see there's a black line around this text. So if I Control A, select all the text, and I have the stroke width here, I could turn this up, make it, you know, darker or whatever, you know. I could make this 45, you know, you got a really big stroke width. Could make it a 7. I could make it a 15, and you can see the width of the black line around the text. I think I'm going to make that a 4. There we go. So that looks pretty good, and there we go. I'm going to click on this text, and I'm going to go down to the line, just so I can line it up in the middle. Click the horizontal middle and the vertical middle, and that looks pretty good. If you don't have that align, you can go to the window and click Align. Although in my video, let's just go back to that video, the tutorials. Let's have a look here. it comes in and it animates, it gets bigger and then gets smaller. That's not happening in the one we've made. When I scrub through this, it just stays the same. That's because we haven't animated anything yet. We've just sort of set up what it looks like. So let's go ahead and do our first ever After Effects animation with Owen. I'm going to put the text actually in the middle. That way, when it comes up to here, the green will be on top of it, and it will be on top of the orange. So we're going to see it here, but when it comes through here, this green will sort of overlap it. As you see in the video, I'm going to go back to about here. Animation happens pretty quick. You can see this green is overlapping the text. So I'm going to try and make that effect as well. And that will happen because we've put it in the middle and the green is now on top, if that makes sense. All right, so about 2 seconds in, we want the position of this text here to be here. So I'm going to click P, and I'm going to click this stopwatch for position. That is setting this so the text will be here at 2 seconds. Now at 0 seconds, where is the text in here? The text is actually off the screen down at the bottom. So I'm going to take the text at 0 seconds and put it down here. And now you can see at 2 seconds, we got the text up here. At 0 seconds, it's down here. There is our very first animation ever. And you can see around 1 second here, if you zoom in, you can see the green is over the top of the letters. So that's sort of the effect we were going for. So that's good. That is exactly what we wanted. I'm going to just go ahead and click Fit on here and scroll out one. There we go. Okay, so we have our first animation ever, and that was the position. The next animation I'm going to do is the scale, because it gets bigger and then it goes smaller and then it gets bigger again. So I'm going to click S for scale, and about 2.5 seconds I'm going to set a keyframe here with a clock for the scale. So let's make the scale, let's keep it at around 80%. So that's the normal size of the text. And then about 3 seconds, let's boost it up to 125 there, so it gets bigger. So you can see it gets bigger like that, and then it's gonna get smaller. Let's put it down to about 95 or 90. Let's say 90, and then right at the end, let's bring it right back up to 100. So let's have a look at what this animation does. So it starts at, it starts at 80, gets to 125, goes down to 90, and then 100. Let's watch that. There we go. So that's the animation. Now that looks kind of like it just sort of, it goes from one to the other. It's not very smooth. And if you look in here when we do it, watch how smooth it is. It's got some sort of like pop to it. So we want to get that pop effect. So the way we do that is we can go to the graph editor. So I'm going to click on the graph editor, and I'm going to click on scale, and you can see how these lines are very harsh. They just go sort of straight there. So let's go back to the regular, and I'm going to highlight these, right click, and right click on these keyframes and go to Keyframe Assistant, Easy Ease, or you can click F9. I'm just showing you where they are here, so you know how to get to them if you forget the hotkey is F9. So Easy Ease, F9, and it turns these little diamonds into hourglass shapes. But so you might not notice a difference, but there is a difference. It's smoother. And the way you can really tell is you go to the graph editor here. These lines are no longer harsh. They are a lot smoother. And if I wanted to click on this, I can actually adjust them. So let's say I want it to get, get to that large size, 125%, really quick. And then once it gets there, there's sort of like a very gradual change. So watch this. See how that pops really fast, and then maybe let's say I want to click on this one and I want it to go a little slower. You can adjust these to whatever you want. And I don't actually like any of the adjustments I made. I like the adjustment that I sort of had. So I'm going to leave them at that. There's the text, and I just wanted you to know about the graph editor. And you can use a graph editor for anything. So for whenever it first started off screen, the text and came up, that was the position. So I'm going to click position. We can take these keyframes and we can we just highlight them like this, right click, keyframe assistant, easy ease. Now let's have a look at this. It comes in smoothly and then pops up like that. That is looking pretty good. Okay, so we have the text come in, and you can do this with rotation. So you could click rotation, and you can do the same thing, so it rotates and then it rotates back, or whatever your animation, whatever you want it to look like. You can essentially do anything with After Effects in regards to animations. So the rotation you could do the opacity. You click T for opacity. So you could make this like fade in and then get fully visible or fully invisible. You can do that. You can do a bunch of different things. So that's the basic text animation. Now let's have a look at this and see what happens next. So we got the text come in, pops up, and then we have the different elements come in. So let's go ahead and get those. So we got the text, pops up. Right around 5 seconds. Let's bring in the premiere and the different symbols. So I'm going to go ahead and let's scroll out here so I can see. I'm going to click on the project tab, and I'm going to double click here, or I can right click and import. And I have some files saved on my computer here. So I'm going to go ahead and bring in this Flash file, and I'm going to go ahead and bring in this Adobe Audition file. And I'll show you why I brought these two in. I brought these two in because they're different sizes. So let's bring the Flash one down here. And actually, I'm going to put it on top. So it's going to go right up at the top. And let's bring in the Audition one. Audition one's a little bigger. So I'm going to bring it over here. And the first thing I'm going to do is scale this down. So I'm going to hit scale, and I'm going to bring it down to, let's see, how big do I want it? If I zoom in here and I pull this one, I can pull this one beside here. And those are pretty close to the same size. That's 43. 43, that looks right about right. Maybe 44. I wonder if it's 43.5. Perfect. I think that looks good. Let's have a look. It's 44. Let's go with 44. That looks just about right. So we have these scaled to the right size. I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing with the Adobe Audition. So I'm going to, right about here, so right about 5 seconds, I'm going to click on the scale, and I'm going to click this, and I'm going to take it down to, I'm going to take it down to 0%, and then in about 6 seconds, I'm going to bring it up to the 44% for the scale. And then I'm going to go back to this keyframe, and I'm going to use the opacity. So I'm going to click T, and I'm going to set the opacity to 0. And let's go back to this keyframe, and let's go back to opacity, and we'll make it 100%. So let's see that animation we created. We just made that come from small and opaque to completely visible. So let's see there. actually, I need to make sure that I'm clicking the stopwatch. So when I click on T, I need to click on the stopwatch, make this 0, because it didn't actually make the keyframes. And then let's go to the next keyframe and hit T and make it like that. So there you can see it sort of it gets lighter, or it gets more full as it comes in. All right, and I'm going to move this back a little, and I'm going to go to the scale. I'm going to move the scale back a little, and a couple seconds later I'm going to bring it back to maybe, yeah, 44 will be the resting scale. So let's put that keyframe there, and I'm going to make this one a little bigger, maybe 54. So let's see what that looks like. There we go, and I'm going to move this a little closer. Maybe not. Maybe just move it right there. Okay, and this is the finished one. So right in between, I'm going to bring this down to 40. So let's see what that looks like. There we go. So it gets bigger. It's 54, 40, 44 is the resting one. So 0, 54, 40, 44. And basically what we can do is we can copy these, and we can go ahead and click on the flash one, and we can paste them to the flash one. So the flash one does the exact same thing. The only reason the flash one here is slightly different is because the flash one needs to be at 100% for the scale, because it was a different sized image when we brought it in. So I'm going to go ahead here, and I'm going to change this to 105. I'm going to change the next one to like 95, and then the final one I'm going to change to 100%. Now let's have a look and see what that looks like. Pretty good. And I can go ahead and I can drag these. I can drag these keyframes, and I can drag them all over here, so the animations happen one after the other. There's one, there's two. Now obviously the position needs to be changed for this one, so I'm going to put the position right over here. Let's have a look and see what that looks like now. Let's change the position so it's level. And for the flash one, I'm just going to drag it over just a little bit. There we go. So that's basically how you do those animations. The only other thing that we need to do is we're going to add the sound effect, and we're also going to add some motion blur. So motion blur will make this when it moves, it will look blurry, which is the effect that we have for this one. When you see here, you can see that it's kind of blurry around the edges, and then it gets bright. So like if I scroll back here, you can see it's blurry here. That's because I have motion blur added. So let's go ahead and make sure we add motion blur. You have to click this motion blur here. And now it's going to motion blur the animations, which just gives it a slight nicer look. So we're nearly done. Let's go ahead and import a file, and I have saved here under my tutorials, audio for tutorials, blop. This is just a simple MP sound. Let's go ahead and listen to it. I need to listen to it with the RAM preview. That's what it sounds like. And I'm going to go ahead and add this underneath each animation. So let's go ahead and listen to it here. And you basically can just Control C, Control V, and make as many of these as you want. And we can drag them under each different element, and make sure that it comes in at the right time. Let's go ahead and listen to that. Pops up, Derek Floyd. Pop. Pop. And you can just set them at the right time. So that's how you do all that. And the last thing that we need to do is add that border. You can see in the animation, kind of subtle. I guess I didn't really point it out before. But there is a slight border around the edge. You see there's this white border. So I'm going to just show you how to quickly add that. Basically what you do is we're going to go ahead, make a new solid. We'll make it that gray color. It was kind of like a light gray white. And we'll call this border. And basically what I do is on the border, I'm going to make a new mask. So I'm going to go layer, mask, new mask. And so there's the mask around there. And I'm going to go into the border settings. And I'm going to change the expansion to be negative, let's say 33 pixels. That looks about right. And then I'm going to invert it. And there's your border. So there is your final animation. Pretty simple stuff. But hopefully you learned some stuff with this one. And that's you can export this as an MP4 and use it in any of your projects. But basically what I'm trying to say is you don't want to create this exact animation. This is just the principles on how to make animations. So get creative and find out things that look good, or elements you can bring in, like the Adobe Audition or the flash symbol. That really adds to this animation. You can bring in different things. You can bring in sound effects. You could bring in a sound effect when your text comes in. Make it really shine. It's all about creativity, this program. I'm just going to show you quickly how to export this. So you have everything done. You're going to go up to File. You're going to go Export. And you're going to go Add to Render Queue. And this is your intro composition. This is the render queue. And you can see it's just been added here. We're going to go ahead. We'll save it on the desktop. And we'll call this Final Intro. And we're going to go change this to, this output mode. We'll change this to an H.264. And make sure you output the audio. Because if you don't select this, it'll come out silent. And now you can add the audio in afterwards, let's say in Premiere or whatever you're using, but if you're using this custom animation for every single tutorial you're putting, it's nice to not have to worry about adding that audio in every time. So you can just sync it up in here, output the audio, and then go ahead and click render. This orange bar will go all the way. Once it's finished, it will make a little ding noise. You'll hear it just shortly here. Once it's finished, there's the ding, and here it is. We can see there's our final piece. Looks basically just the same as what I have for my intro, and that's sort of how I made it. I hope this tutorial was helpful, and if you have any questions, please just leave me a comment in the comment section, and I would be very happy to help discuss with you, the different elements of this tutorial. And if you need any help, just give me a comment, and I will be sure to make another tutorial that explains anything that was confusing. If you want to just give me a like and a subscribe, that would really help me out. And I'll see you on the next tutorial. All right, cheers.